James Byron Dean was born on February 8, 1931 in Marion, Indiana. Just 6 years later, he moved to Santa Monica, California, and had become a cultural icon by his early 20s by acting in such movies as Rebel Without a Cause and his last movie, Giant, which was released after Dean's death. Up until that point, he had lived the ultimate Hollywood lifestyle, and did it the way he wanted to. Dean was particularly close to his mother. It was often said that she was the only person who could ever really understand him. He took her passing in 1938 extremely hard. She died of uterine cancer. Being a soldier, James' father could not look after the young boy who was only 9 years old. He was sent to live with his aunt and uncle in Fairmont, Indiana, who maintained a very religious upbringing for him. He grew up there and did as well as could be expected for a while. It's been said by many that as a young boy, he had visited a Methodist preacher who had taken an interest in Dean. Some consider it a too keen of an interest. James confided in others later on that the preacher had been sexually abusing him for years. Despite the abuse and his unfortunate loss of his mother, Dean did very well in school. He was mostly a straight-A student, and he even played sports, and was a member of the drama club. He graduated high school and started to attend college. However, he quit college to act full-time, and was cast in his first speaking part, as John the Beloved Disciple, in Hill No. 1, an Easter television special dramatizing the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Dean managed to get his professional start in a Pepsi-Cola commercial. From there he had several movie roles, and was thoroughly enjoying his life. He dated many women and, according to some, even a few men, including his close friend, screenwriter William Bast. However, one of his most treasured romances was with the actress, Pier Angeli, whom he wanted to marry. Unfortunately, he went on a short trip to New York, and while he was away, Angeli abruptly announced her wedding engagement to another man. Some say it was because of interference from Angeli's mother. Regardless, it ended with James not only losing the love of his life, but what he believed to be his child as well. Dean had confided to some of his friends that Angeli was pregnant with his baby when she got married. One of the young actor's passions was anything fast. It didn't matter what it was. If it was fast, he simply loved it. One of them in particular was fast cars. He dreamed of driving professionally, but the movie studio where he worked did not allow it. After filming wrapped up on his last film, he was finally able to do what he wanted, and that was racing. He had bought a Porsche 550 Spider. He lovingly called it Little Bastard. His friends, however, didn't love it the way he did. In the fall of 1955, he ran into his friend, British actor Alec Guinness. Guinness was absolutely terrified of the car. He told Dean that the car looked hungry, even sinister to him, and begged Dean not to drive the car. He told him that if he drove the car, he would be dead within a week. Sadly, his prophecy came true. On September 30th, Dean and Rolf Wutherich, a former Luftwaffe pilot and factory-trained Porsche mechanic, were at Competition Motors in Hollywood preparing the Little Bastard for racing that weekend at Salinas. The plan was for Dean to trailer the car and ride there with his friends Rolf and photographer and stuntman Bill Hickman. However, the car needed to be broken in time for the race, and Wutherich suggested that Dean drive to the race to get the car broken in. So it was James Dean and his friend, Rolf Wutherich, who rode in Little Bastard, and Bill Hickman drove the truck to haul the car home. At approximately 5:15 p.m., Dean and Hickman drove west toward Paso Robles. A half hour later, a 1950 black and white Ford Tudor was headed east on 466, driven by a 23-year-old Cal Poly student named Donald Turnipseed. Turnipseed made a left on Route 41. As he crossed the center line, Dean, who was estimated to be traveling at 85 miles per hour, tried to avoid the Ford, and the two cars met head-on. The Ford coupe slid 39 feet down Route 466 in the westbound lane. Wutherich was thrown from the car, but eventually survived. James Dean died from his injuries on his way to the hospital in the back of an ambulance. Turnipseed walked away with nothing more than a scratch on his face. Shortly after the death of James Dean, the famous car builder George Barris, who had placed the number 130 on the car as well as the name Little Bastard, bought the car from the insurance company for parts. The car somehow slipped off the trailer and broke one of his mechanic's legs. Barris then sold the engine and transmission to Troy McHenry and William Eschrod. The men used parts to build cars of their own, and were racing against each other with those parts in their cars. Henry lost control and slammed into a tree, the impact killing him instantly. Eschrod was driving his car, and the wheels suddenly locked up for an unknown reason. It sent the car rolling over in a turn. Eschrod was seriously injured in the crash. 2 of the tires from the Little Bastard were in Barris's garage. He sold the tires, and both of them exploded simultaneously, causing the driver who bought them to run off the road and killing him as well. Barris was beginning to see that the car was a danger to anyone who came near it. He decided that he was going to hide the car away until he could figure out what to do with it. Somehow, though, the California State Police convinced him that the car could be of good use as a highway safety exhibit. It wasn't that great of an idea. The building housing the exhibit caught on fire, destroying all the cars in the building, except of course, Little Bastard. It didn't even get touched by the flames, even though the building was a total loss. George Barkis was the next to die from the cursed car. He was hauling it on a trailer to the lot where the building's burned remains was. When he got it back to the shop, he was going to untie it, when the car suddenly fell off the trailer onto him, killing him instantly. One strange occurrence after another kept happening until 1960, when the car was loaned to A.S. Affity exhibit in Miami. Following the exhibit, the wreckage and the truck that was hauling it mysteriously vanished on the way back to Los Angeles. Neither have ever been seen since.